Sound to your mind.
Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Shouts all on my team, I need more than a mattress support in my dreams. Could grab a few Zeds like I'm falling asleep, but I don't wanna wake for the morning. Grief, breathe. Tears drop to the form in the sea. A broke heart, but it's worn in my sleeve. Never listened, I was warned in my teens, but I still skipped school, I was taught in the streets. Ring back, don't call for police. Stand tall, don't fall for the beast. Got issues with trust, so I'm born to believe. We've been a victim of love and now we're caught in it deep. Breathe.
Yes, people, what's happening? And welcome back to Gav Goes In. Yeah, guys, apologies for being slightly late. I've had mad things to do, man. I actually was, gonna do something a bit different today, but it didn't really turn out like that because my let's just say my system was slightly overheating, so I had to kind of revert back to to what I was gonna do, so that's why I'm slightly late. But yeah, other than that, guys, hot day. Hope everyone's doing well. Big up to Baz One Diva, big up to Fitz LCN as well, and big up to Foxy Danny each and every time. And as I said, yeah, man, the weather out there today, yeah, it's not a joke. It's not a joke, man. And as I said, I was gonna literally, I was literally gonna go live literally at 2:15, and then I was just checking my system, and my system was overheating. So I just said, listen, let's just keep it simple, man, and just bring it back inside, But yeah, no, it's mad. It's mad. Like, this weather's not a joke, man. I'm not even sure what degrees it is today either, but it is a hot day, and again, you can't really complain because, what would you rather see, sun or rain, So, and as Baz One Diva says, Gav, the heat is crazy. 100% it is. It's not nice to be in it, but you'd much rather the sun be out than it be raining or even snowing, I suppose, So, it is what it is, guys. But listen, end of the season's come to an end. Obviously, got the Champions League final coming up on Saturday. And guys, I will be doing a watch along for that as well, which kickoff is at 5 o'clock. But I'll be live at 4:45 on Saturday. And obviously, I'm doing my World Cup series, guys, which starts tomorrow. So all the major teams, all the major teams in the World Cup. I'll be starting out on Wednesday, and obviously on Saturday there will be an earlier time because obviously the Champions League is on. So yeah, just keep an eye on the notifications. Make sure your notifications are on, guys, to see when I go live, and check your notifications as well to see if it's on personalized or if it's on all. If it's on all, that's all good, but I'm pretty sure some of you might have your ones changed to personalized. But yeah, just give that a check and let me know. But yeah, listen, obviously end the season, Manchester United get in third place under Michael Carrick. Obviously Bruno Fernandes breaking the assist record, or did he? That's still debatable for me. Whether people like that or not, it's up to you. But yeah, listen, let me see. We're gonna go through all the players, their player ratings, and how I think they've done this season, and again, let me know in the chat, guys, if you think there's been any standout players. I'm pretty sure a few of you, I probably got a few in mind. But yeah, we are going to go through each player, and we're going to find out who is my player of the season, really, and there is a few candidates in there. But yeah, let me know in the chat as always. And again, keep your questions and comments coming through. What's going on there? Right, let me just share. I'm going to share my screen, guys. Yeah. So we're going to go through each player, and we're going to start off with none other than Sene Lamens. Yeah. So again, we're gonna base it on Ruben Amorim's time in charge, and we're gonna base it on obviously Michael Carrick's successful period as well. Sene Lamens, I mean, what a signing he's been. You know, to think that he came in for what did he come in for? What was it, 14 million? Something like that. Yeah. And to think that Sene Lamens, for me, and I don't think this is a crazy shout, by the way, yeah. I actually do think Lamens has possibly been. I actually think he's been the best keeper in the league this season for pound for pound for what he's done. I mean, everyone's going to point to, you know, David Raya, Donnarumma, but I think if we're countering the fact that Lamens has come in for 14 million, relatively unknown. What is he? 23 years of age. He's going to be going to the World Cup as well. And the one thing, you know, which I think a lot of fans would probably look at Lamens, which is why Lamens is a standout, is for someone of his age at 23, his composure, you know, in terms of coming for crosses, you know, in terms of you know, with the ball at his feet, like everything about Lamens just screams, you know, calmness and composure. And if you've got a goalkeeper like that, that's just going to give a lot of confidence to your backline, you know. And as you can see, 32 appearances, 8 clean sheets, 79 saves, and 39 conceded. Yeah. And I actually do think, yeah, he's going to go on to be even better. You know, I just think that, you know, there's talk about Thibaut Courtois, obviously Belgium's goalkeeper, number one. He rates Lamens highly, you know, and again, the fact that Lamens has come in, you know, and he's taken the Premier League like a duck to water, you know, it just speaks volumes, really, just how good Lamens can be and how good he is at the moment, you know. And as I said, I think people are going to say David Raya because Arsenal won the league, and obviously Donnarumma as well. Donnarumma is a great keeper, but I think pound for pound, Sene Lamens has been arguably the best keeper since he's arrived, you know, and I'd argue that of anyone. You know, I think, you know, his kicking's been very good. And again, his kicking, yeah, with off of both feet, the amount of distance he gets off his kicking is crazy to think about it, because I don't think there's many keepers out there that have a great kick off both feet as calmly as what he does, you know. And I think in terms of the 8 clean sheets, I actually thought he had slightly more than that personally, but yeah, there's no denying, man, that he's been a standout keeper this season. And my player ratings, again, my player ratings are, you know, I don't think I think they're quite, you know, there's a standard in terms of what I look for, yeah. And I'm going to give Sene Lamens for his debut in the Premier League, I'm going to give him a strong 8 out of 10. You know, and the reason I'm not giving him a 9 or a 10 is because it's actually testament to him, because I actually think, you know, as he goes on, he can actually be like the best keeper in the world. I think he's that good, you know, and that's why I'm not giving him like a 9 or a 10. I'm going to give him an 8 as to how good he's done since he's come into the club. And a 9 or a 10 for me would be when he goes on to be to become the best keeper in the world, if he continues, you know, his path and what he's doing. You know, Lamens was a brilliant, what a signing, big star, 100%. He's been a great signing, man. 14 million for a guy like that, you know, it's unheard of. And again, you have to give credit to, I think it might have been Tony Coton who actually scouted him. You know, obviously Vivell as well, Christopher Vivell, give him credit as well, and Ineos as well for you know, bringing the signing in. You know, and what an addition he's been, man. So yeah, long live Lamens, man, and let's hope he can carry his form, you know, into next season. Because I definitely believe, man, we've got a genuine world-class goalkeeper on our hands right there. Tricky one, this, as almost feel like 2 different seasons with players like De Ligt being standout under Amorim. And again, yeah, we are talking about under Amorim and under Carrick, yeah. So again, under Amorim, Lamens was performing how he's performing under Carrick. I think under Carrick, he's gone to another level, in my opinion. But even when he did come in under Amorim, you know, he was still consistent. So this is why I'm saying, man, like, he's been literally a consistent performer throughout. You know, and to think that Lamens didn't start the season in goal, imagine how many points we could have accumulated if he'd been there the full season. You know, along with Michael Carrick for me and Lamens in goal, you know, I'd be looking at a title charge. That's how good Lamens has been since he's come into the club. You know, let's move it on to Bayinde. Again, we're not going to spend too much time on Bayinde. You know, Bayinde, 6 appearances, 13 saves, 11 conceded. Again, 11 conceded in 6 appearances. Who do we attribute that to? Do we attribute that to Bayinde being a bad keeper, or do we attribute that to Ruben Amorim just being a poor coach? You know, I think it's both, in my opinion. And again, the one game that stands out for me for Bayinde was the Arsenal game, because I actually think Bayinde was actually okay against Arsenal. And even the goal that Arsenal scored, you know, it was a foul on him, which was given a goal, which is mad. You know, if you look at Saliba, you know, interfering with him. And again, you look at the fact that what was given a disallowed goal against West Ham, you have to put that into context. But I think on the whole, you know, Bayinde for me, he needs to be moved on, you know, maybe for his own career as well. But I think the fact that I'm looking at 11 conceded in 6 appearances isn't great, you know. And Lamens has come in, and Lamens has just shown, you know, what a quality goalkeeper that he is, and how important it is that you need a goalkeeper like him. And I think the one thing with Bayinde, and a lot of what was attributed to as well with Andre Onana, is the fact when it comes to claiming crosses from corners, these guys never filled you with any confidence, you know. And I think Bayinde is definitely someone that is in that mold as well, you know. And I think, as I said, next season we need to be moving on without Bayinde and bringing in a number 2 to even compete with Lamens, you know, or either someone that's a number 2 that is happy to be, you know, whether it's an understudy or happy to be on the bench as cover for Lamens, you know, because Onana's on a lot of money, and he's not going to come back and you know, and sit on the bench really. So we need to be looking at moving on Bayinde 100%. But the rating I'm going to give Bayinde, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10, I would say. And again, 11 conceded in 6 appearances isn't great, so I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. You know, and I don't think that's I don't think that's outrageous. I think 4 out of 10 is fine. Moving on, Diogo Dalot. Now, he's a right back for me, yeah, that I actually used to rate. When he first came in, you know, from Porto, I genuinely felt, man, we had, you know, one of the best right backs in Europe coming through, young right backs coming through. And what I would say about Dalot, yeah, is that I think Dalot is someone that you can never question, you know, his mentality in terms of, you know, wanting to get better, wanting to, you know, be at Manchester United. But I think sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture and think there's some players that maybe their time is done at the club, you know, and I definitely do think Dalot is one of them. And again, I was a massive fan of Dalot, but I think Dalot for me is one of them things that his time has run its course for me at Manchester United, you know. And do I believe Dalot is going to be moved on at the end of the season? I don't know. I mean, there's right backs that I would like to see Manchester United go for, you know, Wesley at Roma, Guevara Reed at Feyenoord, you know, there's a few probably in the Premier League as well. But in terms of Dalot, he's had an up and down season for me. I think he's been better under Michael Carrick. Under Amorim, you know, Amorim had this guy playing left wing back, right wing back, you know, and Amorim loved Dalot for obvious reasons, being his compatriot as well. You know, 34 appearances, 1 goal, 3 assists, 53 tackles, 27 interceptions, 9 blocks, and 25 fouls. You know, I think looking at those numbers, they look decent, you know, but again, watching Dalot, the eye test never fails, you know, and I think he is a right back for me that he's solid, you know, but if Man United want to be, you know, this force of a team, you know, with the overlapping fullbacks, you know, that I like to see, you know, maybe it's time to move away from Dalot for me, you know. And again, there's calls that Real Madrid have been looking at him for years, you know. Would I be disappointed if Dalot stayed, if it meant that we improved other areas and then he's someone that we can look at next season. You know, I wouldn't be that fussed, but yeah, I think he's had an up and down season. Poor under Amarim, but you'd have to say very good under Carrick. And just based off that, I'm gonna give Dallo. I'm gonna give him an average 6. I'll give him a 6 out of 10, Dallo, because I think he was a lot improved under Carrick, but under Amarim, he was one of our worst players. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a 6, generous 6. Yeah, big up yourself, man. Big up for coming through. Let's move it on, and we're gonna move on to Noussair Mazraoui. Now, again, Mazraoui, thinking that we bought Mazraoui in for, again, didn't he cost the same amount as Lemens from Bayern Munich? Because to get a quality right back like Mazraoui, someone that can play right and left back, you know, he can play right and left sided of a free as well. You know, fielding at centre back against Chelsea. You know, and for me, the fact that Mazraoui has been criminally underused, you know, is a problem for me, man, because I just think that we should be making more of Mazraoui. I think in terms of modern day fullbacks, you know, if you're looking at fullbacks to overlap, you know, and provide that attacking threat, he's probably not that, you know, from what is out there right now. But for me, he's a perfect squad player, Mazraoui. Perfect squad player. Someone that can come and play multiple positions. You know, I think everyone would be surprised that he lost his place to Dallo under Carrick, because I don't think there's many people that would have seen that. But I look at Mazraoui. What is he? I think he might be late 20s now. Would I get rid of Mazraoui? No way. I wouldn't get rid of him. What I would like to see personally is if Man United was to move on Dallo and bring in an attacking right back, the names that I've mentioned, you know. But going forwards next season, if it is Dallo and it is Mazraoui, I think Carrick's shown that, you know, he favours Diogo Dallo. So again, that could be one to watch. But 20 appearances, 28 tackles, 14 interceptions, 2 blocks, and 12 fouls. Again, 20 appearances is very low for Mazraoui. If you remember, Mazraoui did suffer an injury as well. You know, I think when he come back from AFCON as well, I don't think he played too many games. But he's definitely someone that, you know, he's probably the perfect squad player, I would say, in defense. You know, probably the perfect squad player. And as I said, man, I think we'll be foolish to get rid of Mazraoui. You know, with Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, the league. You know, he's someone that can, you know, even if he doesn't start, he can come in and just do it and do a job that not many others can do. You know, but his rating for me out of 10, I think we have to be fair. If we're going to give Dallo a 6, the fact that Mazraoui hasn't played as much under Carrick, but under Amarim, you know, he was one of our best players under Amarim. I would say that he probably deserves a 6 out of 10 as well, I would say. You know, I think he deserves a 6 because I think Mazraoui was better under Amarim. Dallo was better under Carrick. So, you know, I think it's only fair to give both of them, you know, the same kind of rating. So giving them a 6 for me. Big up to yourself, man. Big up. Big up. Will be good to see more Maz minutes next season. Yeah, same here. But the right back thing for me is interesting because I want to see an attacking fullback, and I don't want to see that being Dallo. So if we're not going to go and buy a right back, which is looking quite unlikely, you know, I think Carrick sticks with Dallo. So how is Mazraoui really going to be getting game time? That's all I'm going to say, you know. But yeah, hopefully he does get more game time next season. But again, we're in 4 competitions, so he definitely will be getting game time. And I think in Champions League as well, he's going to be crucial, you know, with his experience. So let's see what happens. Yeah, man, all good. Hot day, you know, you know, this UK weather, man, is it's a killer at the moment, man. Last 3 days has been mad. I can't lie, you know. And I'm someone, yeah, I like it when the sun's out, but you'll never catch me sitting in the sun, man. It's just too hot. You know what I mean? I've got to be in some sort of shade. That's why I was slightly late as well, because, you know, I was outside setting up, and then my system was overheating. So I said, yeah, not today. Let's just go back inside, man. You know. But yeah, all good, man. All good. Let's move on to Lenny Yoro. Now, Lenny Yoro for me, yeah, is a mad one because he is someone, yeah, that the fan base. I'm seeing a lot of fans giving up on Lenny Yoro. I don't understand it. I don't really know why. Yeah, Lenny Yoro is what 20 years of age. Yeah, and we got Lenny Yoro um from Lille. Was it Lille? No, was it Lille? Guys, where was Yoro from? It was Lille, wasn't it? Was it Lille? Was it Lille we got him from? I can't remember. Was it Lille we got him from, guys? Someone let me know in the chat. I forgot. My mind's gone blank. It was Lille, wasn't it? Yeah, big up to AJ, man. Big up yourself for subbing. Big up. Yeah, Lille. It was Lille. I thought it was. Yeah. So we got him from Lille. Yeah, hijacking the move for him to go to Real Madrid. Yeah. Now, Lenny Yoro for me, I can't really blame him. I can't really blame him too much, man, because under Ruben Amorim, yeah, Lenny Yoro was asked to play as a right-sided defender. In that system there, if you're playing three at the back as a right-sided defender, a lot of the times you're going to end up playing right back, you know, because it's the way the system is set up, isn't it? You know, and I think, as we know with Lenny Yoro, this is a guy that was earmarked to be the next Rafael Varane. You know, Real Madrid wanted him, and we literally just, you know, stormed Real Madrid to take him off their hands, Yeah, literally. When have Man United ever done that before, realistically, taken a player off of Real Madrid like that? Yeah. Now he's come in, yeah, and he's had criticism, loss of form, low on confidence, playing in a system that he's never really played in as well. And obviously Carrick's come in, and if you look at what Carrick's done, yeah, it's not that Carrick doesn't believe in Lenny Yoro, because I heard some quotes the other day saying that the club see Lenny Yoro and Aiden Heaven as the future centre backs for Manchester United. And again, it's very reminiscent of what was happening with Chris Smalling and Phil Jones, if you remember. You know, when we had Rio and Vidic, they were earmarking Smalling and Jones as the future centre back pairing. I mean, look how that went, you know. But Lenny Yoro for me is different. You know, I look at Lenny Yoro's strengths. You know, he's got great recovery pace. You know, his reading of the game is very good. You know, he's aggressive as well in the tackle. And I think he possesses, yeah. On the ball, I don't think he's the greatest on the ball, but he's still very good on the ball. And for me, Lenny Yoro possesses, yeah, all of the qualities of a modern day centre back. And I think people need to remember that Lenny Yoro is only 20 years of age. Yeah. You know, him missing out on the World Cup squad, you know, is disappointing, but it was going to happen because he hasn't been playing regularly for United. But he's a player for me that I'm never going to give up on, because I think, as I said, him and Aiden Heaven, in terms of defenders, they are going to be the future of our defense, you know, because Man United invested, what, 50 million on Lenny Yoro. And the fact that fans have just given up on him doesn't really make sense. Now, before I carry this on, actually, it's important to notice, just going back to, because these appearances, yeah, even if you go back to Dallo had five sub appearances. Mazraoui had 9 sub appearances. Yeah, Lenny Yoro's had 32 appearances, with 14 of them being sub appearances. Yeah, so again, 32 appearances, 14 substitute appearances. That's in total with the 32 tackles, 31 interceptions, 11 blocks, and 17 fouls. Yeah. Now, as I said, where do I think Lenny Yoro played his best football? I mean, Carrick, he hasn't really played as much, but you have to say, yeah, that under Carrick, you know, he has looked slightly better, because under Amorim exposed him, you know, in that three at the back system. And if anyone remembers the game against Southampton, yeah, where who was the winger? I forget his name. Oh, Kalmadin Sulemana. And that was the game where I think a lot of fans, you know, were looking at Lenny Yoro, you know, as a question mark. But again, you have to look at the fact that Kalmadin Sulemana has, you know, he has ridiculous pace. Lenny Yoro's playing the three at the back system where realistically he's having to play right back, you know, and he's going 1v1 against a guy that has outrageous pace, and the thing with Sulemana, yeah, Sulemana could do that to most centre backs, really, in a 1v1, because Lenny Yoro is a centre back having to play as a right-sided centre back in a free, which means that he's going to be playing more as a fullback, yeah. And I think that's the game where fans were turning up their nose at Lenny Yoro. But for me, I'll just give caution to Lenny Yoro. Carrick coming in was always going to go with the experience over the youngsters, because if you look at the fact, as soon as Lissandro got fit, Aiden Heaven, for no apparent reason, was out the team, and that's because it's about the experience, and Carrick is going to draw on that to obviously get himself into the Champions League and to give himself the best chance of getting the job on a full-time basis, which is what happened. But Lenny Yoro, for me, I'm a massive fan of him, and I think next season is going to be a massive season for him, because even I would say, yeah, because he's been at the club now 2 seasons, going into his 3rd year, even I would say, if Lenny Yoro doesn't have a good season, it might be time to start looking at his future. Even I would say that, But I've got faith, yeah, and this is why I keep saying, if Manchester United go to a possession-based team, you'll get the better out of the likes of a Lenny Yoro, even as a defender. So I'm just hoping that's the case, because I do rate him highly, man. But if I'm being fair on his season, I think I'm torn between a 5 and a 6. And I'll tell you why I'm torn between a 5 and a 6, yeah, is because I think it's more, I'm looking at more of the game time and more of the Amorim side of it, because under Amorim, he wasn't great. Under Carrick, he was a lot better. But I'm gonna probably give Lenny Yoro a 5. I'll probably give him a 5. He could easily be a 6, but I'm gonna give him a 5. And the reason I'm gonna give Lenny Yoro a 5, yeah, is because Lenny Yoro, for me, just like Sene Lamens, yeah, I believe we've got 2 players there that could potentially, be amongst the elite in their positions, and that's why I'm going to give him a 5, because I'm giving him a 5 more or less to say he can do a lot better with the potential that he has. He's only 20 years of age as well. So yeah, I think 5 out of 10 is fair. Let's go into some of your comments. Yeah, big up yourself, man, for subbing. Big up yourself. Guys, make sure we're smashing this like button as well. And make sure we are subbing to the channel if you're new in here. And guys, make sure you hype the channel as well. Big up. Big up to Dereless, man. Big up to yourself, says. Good to hear. And big up Fitz too. Just found out the other day, I'm going to be a dad, man. Son's booming. Great news. Can't complain. Big up, man. Big up to yourself. And I think, I don't speak for myself, but I probably speak for everyone in the chat, that is happy for yourself as well, man. So that's great news, man. Obviously, you're someone that comes into the chat regularly. And yeah, man, I'm happy for you, man. Like, big up to yourself. Obviously, World Cup coming up, man. So you're going to be on dad duties, I suppose. So, you know what I mean? So try and get some football in while you can, man. And if it's about coming onto this channel, and trying to get some respite, then by all means, man. But big up to yourself, man. Congratulations as well. Do you think Aiden Heaven will get more game time? Yeah, listen, I'm pretty sure he will. As I said, Carrick played the experience. I can see what Carrick was doing when he came in, and it's paid off. But next season is going to be his penultimate test, because as I keep saying, man, the way that Carrick has spoken about Manchester United going in a different way in terms of how he sees them playing, I can only believe that we're going to be seeing more possession-based players playing, and the likes of Yoro, the likes of Mainu, Ahmad, hopefully Xerxes stays as well, Aiden Heaven. These guys will be getting their game time, so let's just wait and see, man. But I'm looking forward to the transfer window opening, man, and seeing what we do. Big up to Lumi Rain. Big up yourself. Fitz says giving up on Euro after 18 starts is mad. Bro, listen. But we know what the fan base is like, innit? Because you know, one thing about this Man United fan base, yeah, is that they rate tryhards over footballers. And again, you know, they're the ones that get given a lot more time than, you know, actually better footballers. You know, so if there is fans that are giving up on Lenny Yoro, then as I said, man, it's premature for me, but we'll have to see. As I said, if Lenny Yoro has a similar season to next season, you know, you'd have to start looking at it and think, yeah, there's question marks over it. You know what I mean? Big up to Exedra. Big up, my guy. Big up yourself. Guys, make sure you're smashing the likes when you come through as well. Elliot Anderson seems like Scott McTominay. We need people to control tempo of the game. Nah, listen, that's that's poor. Elliot Anderson's nothing like Scott McTominay. You know, again, I've never hidden my desire for the midfielders that I want. You know, I think Elliot Anderson's a very good player, but do I want Man United to sign him for what has been reported? No, I don't. Because I think there's better options out there. You know, as I said, I want Tonali, Camavinga, and Baleba. And if we can't get Tonali, then we go and get Tchouameni, Baleba, Camavinga. If we can't get Camavinga, then between Tchouameni or Tonali, and then Adam Wharton or Baleba, Adam Wharton and Baleba. That's what I want to see, man. I want to see certain profiles that are going to get the best out of what we got already. You know, but to say that he's like McTominay, nah, no way, man. That's a disrespect to Elliot Anderson. You know, McTominay was a box-to-box midfielder that got goals, innit? Elliot Anderson's more of a footballer than what McTominay is, you know. So yeah, big up, man. But anyway, let's get back onto it, and I'll go back onto some of your questions after. So let's move. Oh, Lenny, yeah. So Lenny Yoro, I'm gonna give him a 5, but I expect him to be much better next season. You know. Let's move on to Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire. I think Harry Maguire, yeah, is someone for me that is he's a player that's much divided by the fan base, yeah. When Harry Maguire was bought in for 80 million, I thought it was some of the worst business I've ever seen. Because to buy a player for 80 million of his level just doesn't make any sense, yeah. But what you have to look at with Harry Maguire, in terms of how long he's been at the club, in terms of what he's given to the club, you know, crucial goals, you know, he's always been relatively fit as well to play. You know, that goes into question as well, man. That goes into his favor, you know. And again, he signed a new contract at Man United. I was hearing that his new contract, I don't know if his money's been reduced. I'm not too sure about that, yeah. But one thing I'll tell you about Harry Maguire is that there's fans out there that are not having Harry Maguire. And it's like, if you look at the fact that he's experienced in this league, you know, the only problem I have with Harry Maguire staying at Manchester United is how much game time he gets next season. Because if he's a regular starter, that's a problem for me. But if he's a player that comes in every now and again, you know, or, you know, he comes in for the odd game to provide that experience, Harry Maguire is not a problem. And you have to look at the fact that under both Amorim and under Carrick, he's been very consistent, you know, and I think there's no one really that can say otherwise, in my opinion. So I'm not actually that dissatisfied that he's staying, you know, because again, who are you going to go and get that's going to replace a Harry Maguire with what he's done in the Premier League? You know, the experience that he has. You know, I wanted Murillo, but Murillo signed a new contract at Nottingham Forest. So again, that's not going to happen. But 23 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists, 22 tackles, 13 interceptions, 11 blocks, and 16 fouls. And he's had 4 sub-appearances as well. You know, Harry Maguire has been a very, very valuable squad member. You know, and I don't think anyone really should be saying, you know, why is Harry Maguire still here? You know, I see a lot of fans that don't rate Harry Maguire. But I think if you're looking at what Harry Maguire has to offer, you know, he's going to be a valuable squad member, you know, for me. And I haven't really got that much of a problem. The only problem I'll have, as I said, is how much game time he gets. Because if the future is heaven, Lenny Yoro, you know, if he's stunting their progress, that's a problem. But having him around as a fifth choice centre back, you know, isn't too bad for me, you know. And for what he's done this season, I'm gonna give him a strong 7. I actually think he's been very good this season, Harry Maguire, you know. But let's see what happens, you know. If he's a regular starter, then yeah, I think there's definitely problems ahead, man, with that. Because if we want to play an attacking brand of football, you know, I don't believe you can be starting with Harry Maguire. I think he's someone, you know, bringing him off the bench, you know, to try and shore up a lead, you know, or playing him in the cup games, you know, games like that. Then yeah, or even if it's up against a physical striker, and you might want to utilize his aerial ability. I think this is where Harry Maguire, for me, you know, would be a lot better. But let's see what happens. But I think a strong 7 out of 10. I'm happy with that with him, you know. Moving on, Matthias de Ligt. Massive fan of Matthias de Ligt, you know, massive fan of him. But the fact that he's had 13 appearances is shocking, really. 1 goal, 19 tackles, 15 interceptions, 7 blocks, 6 fouls. And I actually think Matthias de Ligt is our best defender, you know. But is it coming back to the point of when he stays fit? Because for me, he's a leader. He's strong in the tackle. You know, he's got the physicality. He's got good recovery pace as well. He can read the game. He's good in both boxes aerially. You know, he's decent with the ball at his feet. His one question mark is the injury. His injury record. And again, I'm not going to mess about, yeah. And I'm going to give him a rating based on the fact that he hasn't been available. So I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10, which is below average, really, I would say. But again, he's someone that I'm just praying that he can remain fit next season, because I'll go as far and say, yeah, if we do our business in the summer and we keep Matthias de Ligt fit, we're a shoo-in for the title race. We're a shoo-in for the title race. If we do our business correctly with the midfielders and getting in the players that we need to, because this Premier League, yeah, is not really great. And I think the fact that Arsenal won the Premier League, what that's really showing you is that anyone can really win it. The Premier League is up for grabs, yeah. And I believe that if we've got a fit Matthias de Ligt, you know, I believe with the summer transfer window that we're going to have, hopefully, yeah, Matthias de Ligt for me could play a crucial part in that, and we can go on a title run for me, no doubt. But I think the fact that he hasn't been fit, you'd have to give him a 5 out of 10. But again, he's someone for me that hopefully, man, he stays fit, because he's a massive player, man, and he's a very, very good defender as well. But yeah, I think 5 out of 10 is probably fair. Moving on, and I'll go into your questions after. Lisandro Martinez. Now, Lisandro, for me, he probably falls a bit into the category of Matthias de Ligt, I would say. You know, 5 sub appearances to make it 18 in total, 19 tackles, 12 interceptions, 12 blocks, and then the 9 fouls. Yeah. And the thing I look at with Lisandro, yeah, is that I think I've spoken this already, because his last couple of games for Man United have been very good. You know, I think that he's been, you know, a standout in his last couple of games. And the thing with Lisandro is, I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. Now, he's going to want a pay rise if he does stay at the club. Do I believe Lisandro should be getting a pay rise? Well, the thing is, I wanted Murillo, yeah, because I've mentioned to you guys why I wanted Murillo to replace Lisandro if Lisandro was to move on, because he offers what Lisandro has, and he's got the added extra of being very good, you know, in the wide areas with his pace and his physicality. Obviously, he's signed a new contract now, so that's put to bed. And then you're looking at Van der Ven, you're looking at Castello Lacaba, you know, both players who offer the pace in the wide areas. I think if you're looking at Lisandro, should Man United give him more money to stay? I'm not too sure if he warrants that, because of the injury record as well. Now, there's no denying, yeah, that Lisandro, with the ball at his feet, he's a very, very, very good defender. You know, the question marks with him is physically, you know, he can be found wanting at times. He's aggressive, yeah, but he's not physically dominant. You know what I'm trying to say? His difference there, yeah. In the wide areas as well, you know, against real pace, he does struggle. But with the ball at his feet, you know, and he is a leader as well, there is positives there. But I'm more looking at if he does want more money to stay at the club, you know, and that's the question mark I have. You know, personally, would I do that? No. But then you have to think what players are out there that United could get that could do a similar job to him and more for a good price. That's the problem, you know. But I think based on his season, because under Amorim, he wasn't great. Under Carrick, when he came back, there was a couple of question mark performances. And then the last couple of performances, he's been playing well. But I think if we're being honest, yeah, Lissandro this season, I think you'd have to give him a 5 as well, a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I have to give him a 5 out of 10 because his last couple of performances shouldn't outweigh what he's done this season for me, you know. So yeah, I'm happy to give him a 5 out of 10, you know. Let's go on to some of the comments. If Bruno gets less than an 8, we should all boycott. Listen, if you want to boycott, then by all means, by all means, I'm telling you, because you have to wait and see for that one. Maguire is our best centre back right now. I think if you're basing it off of current form, then maybe. But what I would say is that a problem? If you actually think about it, if that is our best centre back, because if Maguire is our best centre back, then I'm concerned. Put it that way, even though he has been good, you know. I like that centre back Van Hecke from Brighton. I think there's talk about Van Hecke going to, was it Chelsea? I heard last time. I think Chelsea are looking at him, and I think Liverpool might be looking at him as well. But he's a good defender, but we're not going to go and buy Van Hecke. And again, if we go and buy a centre back, yeah, this is the thing. There's no point of us going to go and buy a right-sided centre back because you've got De Ligt, you've got Euro, you've got Maguire. You know, they're all right-footed. Left-sided is the one I'm looking at, you know, because you've got Lissandro and you've got Heaven. So if we do go and buy a centre-back, then you're probably looking at that position there. Yeah, guys, live watch along for the PSG Arsenal game, man. So make sure you're there. Make sure you're there. Dan Burn would be a good replacement. Yeah. Madness. All right, let's move it on. So yeah, Lissandro for me gets a 5. Let's move on to Luke Shaw. Now, it's funny how Luke Shaw's played all 38 games. Crazy. You know, obviously World Cup, people are going to be looking at that as well. But again, the thing with Luke Shaw, yeah, Luke Shaw's ability has never been in question. The thing with Luke Shaw, yeah, it's his I think it's more to do with his mentality and his application to the game, I would say, because there's times where Luke Shaw, you know, he's one of them players, yeah, that does just enough to get through in it. But I think with Luke Shaw, you know, the goal that he scored against, was it Brentford that he scored? Yeah. I mean, that is Luke Shaw in a nutshell. Like, he's got that ability about him, but for too many times, you know, he flatters to deceive. And I think, you know, he's got into the comfortability mode at Manchester United where he does just enough. You know, as a footballer, I think he's a very, very good footballer. And again, it's never been in question, But we need to be moving on from Luke Shaw. But moving on Luke Shaw is difficult because I believe he's the highest paid left back in world football at 190, which, to be honest with you, is scandalous, really. But I do like Luke Shaw, man. I do think he's a good footballer, but we need to be moving on a different direction, But if I'm being honest with his season as a whole, I think he's been decent, and I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10. And again, a 6 out of 10, isn't a crazy it isn't a crazy rating. 6 out of 10 is a good rating, really, But for me, the only person that I've given an 8 out of 10 to is Lamens, for obvious reasons, because he's been unbelievable for me, And as I said, yeah, I think with Luke Shaw, he's been very consistent this season, but again, is he in a comfortable position where he does just enough? And I think that's where he falls into for me, But yeah, 38 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist, 74 tackles, 46 interceptions, 9 blocks, 49 fouls. Again, tells its own story, man, and he has been good. Do I think he's been unbelievable? No, not really. But to be playing every game this season, again, that comes into question his mentality, because was he doing it because there was a World Cup round the corner? And that's what everyone's going to point towards, But yeah, 6 out of 10 for me, Luke Shaw. Moving on. Let's move on to Patrick Dorgu, And again, Patrick Dorgu, man. You have to be very impressed with Patrick Dorgu, because there's a lot of fans that wrote him off, should I say. Again, he's someone that come in for relative peanuts as well. And you have to say, man, that we've probably got, a top-class player in the making. Whether it's going to be as a fullback or as a winger, he's a top-class player for me in the making. And I've always said this, I look at Patrick Dorgu as our answer to Alphonso Davies with his physicality and his pace. I think like for me, the way that I want to see Man United play, I want to see the overlapping fullbacks, and having the inverted players coming in field, and I think Patrick Dorgu sets up nicely as that attacking fullback for me. I can see people that want to look at him as a winger, and I can see the argument for that. I'm just saying that if we have him as a left back, and then if you want to change things up and play him on the wing, I'm all for that, But if we can't go and get a fullback in, that's going to be an attacking fullback, then I would like to see Patrick Dorgu play there, because I think with the physicality and the pace, as I said, I think Alphonso Davies, he could be our answer to that, and I think Dorgu's 21 years of age, if you think of the goal that he scored against Arsenal as well, what a strike, to make it 2-1. And again, he's someone that's going from strength to strength, So 26 appearances, 4 goals, 4 assists, 48 tackles, 15 interceptions, 3 blocks, and 23 fouls, And I think if I'm right in saying, I think Dorgu might have 4 goals in his last 6 games or something like that. 4 or 5 goals in his last 6 games. The header that he scored against Brighton as well. And again, he's proven to be a goal threat, And I think next season, he's someone that I'm looking at, he could go from strength to strength for me. He could do. And I think what it is with Dorgu as well, and this is something that I picked out early on, Under Amorim, I think the team were looking at Dorgu as a pace outlet. And I hate to see players like that just being used for their pace, because Dorgu as a footballer, he's a very good footballer. But I think a lot of it was, let's just, and Bruno Fernandes played a lot into this. Let's just spray the ball out wide so Dorgu can run, because Dorgu's a willing runner. And again, I don't want to see Dorgu used like that, because he has got a lot more to his game. As I said, I think he can go from strength to strength next season. So he's definitely going to be, for me, a player to watch, because he's either going to go on to new levels next season, or he might stagnate. And I actually think next season, he's going to go on to levels next season, So So yeah, he's been a very good signing. And Aiden Heaven to complete the defense. So again, I'm not going to waste too much time. Oh, sorry, Dorgu's match rating, guys, player rating for the season. I'm going to give Patrick Dorgu a strong 7. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for his season. You know, I think he's definitely earned that. You know, Aiden Heaven, again, just like Lenny Yoro, I actually think these two are going to be the future of our defense. You know, left-footed Heaven, right-footed Dorgu, and when Heaven has come in, Heaven hasn't looked out of place. You know, we took him away from Arsenal, on a free transfer, I believe, and what was it? Or was it £1 million? And what business that was as well, just taking him away from Arsenal, and you know, Arsenal's loss is our gain. It has to be said. And I think with Aiden Heaven, yeah, you can see that, you know, he's on the verge, yeah, of being a regular starter for United because he's been that good. You know, he hasn't looked out of place since he's come into the club. And I think to have 17 appearances, which has been, let's have a look. So he's made six sub appearances, yeah, for 17 in total. 1 assist, 22 tackles, 1 interception, 11 blocks, and 7 fouls. Again, a strong season for Aiden Heaven, man. He's been very good. You know, as I said, him and Patrick Dorgu, for me, they'll be looking to, you know, go on levels from this season, and I would definitely believe they can. And guys, I'm going to tell you this right now as well. Yeah, I'm going to make a prediction right now. Aiden Heaven next season will become a senior England international next season. I guarantee you he becomes a senior England international. So yeah, that's one to watch out for. Yeah, that's going to be my prediction. My prediction is going to be Aiden Heaven will become a senior England international. You've heard it here first. Yeah, but again, he's had a very good season for me when he's come in, and again, he's been faultless since he's played. Aiden Heaven for me, I can't think of anything that he's actually done wrong since he's played. So again, just like Patrick Dorgu, I'm going to give him a 7. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I think he's been very good, you know, and he's unlucky to lose his place to Lissandro for me, you know, but I think he's been very good. Right, let's go back into some of the comments. Bastoni's probably the best left-footed centre-back right now, but can't see us getting him. What, in terms of what's available, Bastoni? Well, they're saying that Bastoni's going to Barcelona. But yeah, Bastoni is good. But again, Bastoni's, I mean, he's been playing in Italy for a little while. So, you know, are we looking at that a bit, you know, unfairly? Is he that good? You know, I do like Bastoni, but is he that good? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't. We're not going to go for Bastoni. We're not. Yeah, listen, Aiden Heaven's been a very good signing, man. Very good signing. For 1 million as well. Mad. Exedra saying, no, Gavis a 7 for sure. You know what? Yeah, I was actually thinking about giving Shaw a 7. I was. But the reason why I haven't given him a 7, yeah, is because it's his attacking instincts. You know, for too long, he's playing in a comfort zone where he picks and chooses when to kind of get forward and overlap for me. And that's why I dropped him down to a 6, because if you look at the strike that he done against Brentford, yeah, you know, that could have been a 7 alone, because that was a sweet strike from Luke Shaw, and he's got that in his locker. But I'm just more looking at him playing in his comfort zone as to why I've given him the 6. Again, if you guys want to give him a 7, then I'm happy to give him a 7. I'm just thinking more of a 6, because I believe that Luke Shaw had much more to give than what he was given, in my opinion. But you know what? I'm going to stick with a 6. I'll stick with a 6. But again, if you guys want to give him a 7, then cool. You know what I mean? Let's move it on. Let's go on to Mason Mount. Mason Mount. I'm pretty sure Lumi Rain's gonna enjoy this one. Yeah. Now let's face it with Mason Mount. Yeah. 23 appearances, guys. Yeah. And he's had 11 sub appearances to make the 23. 250 grand a week, 3 goals, number 7 on his back. And I'm purely marking him down because of the number 7 on his back, the 250 a week. He's been unavailable for the majority of the season. And the fact that when he does play, you know, he just doesn't really do enough for me. For someone that's on 250 a week, for someone that wears the iconic number 7 shirt, you would expect a lot more from someone that's wearing that number. Yeah. And this is an easy one for me. Yeah. Mason Mount for me. Mason Mount for me, yeah, is gonna be if I'm giving the buy in there, what I give buy in there, 5 out of 10. Mason Mount has to be a 5 for me. I'm sorry. Because 82% pass complete is not really great. 62% long ball isn't great. Lost possession 141 times. And again, I'm more looking at the fact that he's got number 7 on his back and he's cost 250. Yeah. So Mason Mount can get a 5 out of 10 for me because, as I said, man, he needs to be doing a lot more, you know. And again, Xedra's saying 5, you're too nice. I was thinking of 4, yeah. I was thinking of 4, to be honest with you. Yeah. I just think that Mason Mount doesn't really offer this team anything. You know, if Mason Mount was getting paid 100 grand a week and was wearing, I don't know, number 27, then there wouldn't really be much of a problem. There wouldn't be much of a problem. So my thing is Mason Mount for me is a 5 out of 10. He's definitely a 5 out of 10 for me. He could be lower, you know. He could be lower. He could be lower. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10 to be generous. You know what I'm trying to say? I'll give him a 5 out of 10. Yeah, big up, man. Big up to the Spurs stand. Mad. Big up yourself. Anyway, let's move it on. Let's move it on. Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes. The one that everyone's come to listen to. Bruno Fernandes. Again, if there's any Bruno lovers in this chat and you suck Bruno off, you might as well leave now. Because the reality is, I don't give a damn what you think. It's my opinion, and that's final. You know, if you don't agree with me, cool. We can debate it out. Yeah? So Bruno Fernandes, player of the season, record breaker. Yeah? Again, just letting you guys know, yeah? Bruno Fernandes got given the 21 assists, yeah? But if we're being honest, was the goal for Dorgu, is that an assist really? Because, and I'll tell you why. The ball came back off of the bar and then hit the goalkeeper. So technically, that's not an assist. Sorry to burst the bubble. Yeah? Sorry to burst the bubble. Yeah? But 35 appearances, 9 goals, which 5 of them were from open play. 21 assists. Again, how many of them are real or fake assists? I think he had, 10 from open play. And again, people just want to do the Bruno loving, so they're not going to see these things because they're in love with Bruno. Not over here. 82% pass complete, which is shocking. 60% long ball, which is shocking. And again, the stat that no one wants to talk about, 588 lost possession. 588 lost possession. And the thing is as well, yeah, this is what I'm trying to tell you, yeah. There ain't no one that is going to come and tell me to rate Bruno Fernandes. I don't care who you are. It's not going to happen because I have 2 functioning eyes. I have my own opinion and I just base it off of the eye test. I couldn't give a damn what his numbers are saying because I've never watched the game for numbers. If you're someone that rates him for numbers, then good for you. I don't give a damn. Yeah. Because under Ruben Amorim, he was poor. I'd argue that of anyone. He was poor. Under Michael Carrick, who has been in charge for what? 17 games. You know, he has been slightly, he has been better. There's no denying he's been better under Carrick than he was under Ruben Amorim. Yeah. And I'll say this again, yeah. Do you think a player should be given player of the season? Yeah. After 17 games. That is all I'm going to ask. Because surely it's called player of the season. But he's been given it after 17 games under Michael Carrick. Does that make sense to you? Not to mention, he's been in the conversation because of the assists, which I'm not going to go into again because I've already gone into that. Yeah. Now, as I said, yeah, people are going to be surprised at the rating I'm going to give him. And I'm giving him this rating based off the entire season, not what the stats tell you. Yeah, because the stats don't want to tell you that he's lost possession 588 times. Someone tell me in the chat right now, is that acceptable? That's all I want to know. Is losing the ball that amount of times acceptable? Or are we just going to disregard the fact that he loses the ball, yeah, because he gets GA? Big up to Exedra says, I disagree, Gav. I think his general play this season is far more efficient. And this is what I'm saying, yeah? It has been efficient, yeah, under Carrick. And this is why I've asked the question, yeah? That was done after 17 games. I've watched every game, every match this season of Bruno Fernandes since this season, even under Carrick. The one game that I missed was the last game of the season against Brighton. Yeah. But I've watched every game of Bruno this season. And as I said, like, he's someone that will have an average performance, which gets hyped up because of numbers. You know, so if we're saying, yeah, that his general play this season has been far more efficient, that's cool. But is that worthy of player of the season? That's what I'm saying. So are we now saying because he's efficient, that's worthy of player of the season? Because I don't think it is personally. You know, and again, he's only been given the player of the season because he's in the conversation of breaking an assist record. When did assist records ever be given, you know, for a player to be given player of the season? I've never heard it. You know, he's won nothing this season, so his numbers are irrelevant. You know, you even get people out here saying that if it wasn't for Bruno Fernandes, yeah, we wouldn't even be in the Champions League. The biggest load of nonsense I've heard. Because are people forgetting that we finished 15th last season with Bruno Fernandes? So why is it acceptable now to be finishing 15th with Bruno, you know, and no one talks about it, but all of a sudden he's the reason why we're in Champions League? Like, it's absolute nonsense. It's like, if you're going to give Bruno fair criticism and praise, we have to look at both sides of it. You know what I'm trying to say? Not just look at things which are in his favor. And the fact that we're getting showed time after time, yeah, his GA, but we don't want to look at the fact that he's got an 82% pass completion, 60% long ball completion, and then 588 times lost possession. Why don't we discuss that? And again, because it goes back to, they're just trying to put everything in our face to try and hype this player. And again, you're not going to get that here. You're going to get fair criticism and you're going to get praise. What do I praise Bruno on this season? For being available. No one can question, you know, his commitment to play or his commitment to be available. No one can question that. Yeah. And then someone on here comes on. I'm gonna read it out. Yeah. Are you a moron? Last season you had a terrible coach and he was playing deeper. Again, absolute nonsense. Yeah. Because this season we had that same coach and he was still playing deeper and still playing poor. So again, go and do your homework before coming on there talking shit. Because he was playing poor this season under the same coach. He has been better under Carrick, granted, yeah. But no one's gonna tell me that Bruno Fernandes deserved Player of the Season, after 17 games. Not for me. This is why it's called Player of the Season, because he hasn't been good for the whole season. And I would argue, has he even been that great if we're taking off the GA? That is what people don't want to discuss, but I'll discuss it on here. So again, let's do better. But based on that, guys, I'm going to give Bruno Fernandes for his whole season. The fact that he was better under Carrick, the fact that if you want to give him the credit for the assists, etc., but we can't hide away from the fact that he was poor under Amorim. I'm going to give him a strong 7. A strong 7, which I think is fair. Anyone that thinks that Bruno should be getting an 8 or a 9, not for me. Not for me. So I'm going to give him a strong 7. A strong 7. Let's go through some of these comments quickly. Yeah, listen, Mason Mount is comfortable at United because he's got number 7 on his back. He's on a lot of money. He's on a lot of money, and as I said, he's why would he want to leave, innit? Really, when you think about it. So assists in general are kind of a fake stat. KDB had like 134 corners. Yeah, listen, you see assists in this era of football. If anyone knows how they're counted properly, then you wouldn't be given credit for a lot of them. You know what I mean? I think if you're someone that is hell bent on GA, then you're going to be blinded to the assists that are given in this era. Again, if you haven't seen the breakdown of what I've done, of Bruno, make sure you give that a check. A lot of the assists that he does are not technically real assists, and it is just stat, man. So right, let's go through this. Gav, here's an interesting perspective. You need to gain possession to lose it, says Lumi Rain. So you need to gain possession to lose it. Yeah, that is interesting, Lumi. Yeah, but tell me what that has to do with anything. You know what I mean? What's that got to do with anything? My whole thing is now, yeah. Do you think it's acceptable for a number 10 supposedly to be losing the ball that amount of times? They're just simple questions. You know what I'm trying to say? Because was it acceptable for Dennis Bergkamp to lose the ball like that? You being an Arsenal fan, tell me if it's acceptable. That's all I'm saying. The Prem is just as rigged as Eurovision. Big up to Spurs stand, man. I can't actually disagree with that because the fact that Arsenal have been given this Premier League title by VAR and the officials, it just tells you everything, innit? It just tells you everything, man. And Big Up to Fitz says Bruno gains possession because everyone is playing through him. That is the problem. Again, it's a problem, yeah, that not many want to discuss. Exactly. Like, again, we could be here all day because Bruno fans are not going to see it like that. Because as far as they're concerned, he can do no wrong because he gets GA, innit? You know what I'm trying to say? But what they need to, I think what fans need to realize, yeah, is that as long as Bruno Fernandes is at Manchester United, Man United are not winning any major trophies, whether you like it or not. They're not. They're not going to be winning Champions League or the league title for all of his numbers with an ill-disciplined number 10 like that, as they call him. They're not. They're not. You can get excited about his numbers, but it's not going to happen. No one's saying Dennis Bergkamp never lost the ball. Like, understand the comment. No one's saying Bergkamp didn't lose the ball. Every player loses the ball. It's the frequency of how often they're losing the ball. That's the difference. If you don't want to understand that, that's your problem, not mine, man. Look at Haaland. But again, Haaland's different, yeah, because Haaland's probably the only player in world football that doesn't really have to get involved in general play because he backs it up by consistently scoring a high number of goals. That's the difference. But how football works, yeah, is that, you know, if you've got goals from other areas of the pitch, you don't necessarily need a number 9 to be bagging you 30, 40 goals. Because if you look at how goals are going now, you get goals from wide areas. You know, you get goals from wide areas. So this is why I keep talking about Joshua Zirkzee, because Zirkzee is a false 9. And if you got goals from wide areas, if your strikers get in like 15 to 20 GA, then surely that's going to be beneficial if your wide players are getting numbers. You know? But yeah, going to move on. Bruno Fernandes for me, 7 out of 10. Let's move on to Casemiro. Casemiro, the guy that's leaving at the end of he's left now, isn't it? Yeah. But, you know, Casemiro had detractors in his fan base. You know, Jamie Carragher famously said, you know, Casemiro needs to leave football before football leaves him. Idiotic statement from Carragher. This is a guy that's a 5 times Champions League winner. This is a guy that is our one true world-class player. You know, he's been there and done it. You know, Real Madrid, Porto on loan as well, Manchester United. 9 goals, guys, 34 appearances, 2 assists, 81% pass completion. Again, his pass completion isn't great, you know, but that's not what Casemiro really was in the team for. 54% long ball, again, is poor. 363 times lost possession, which, you know, is significantly less than Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. But what you need to realize about Casemiro, yeah, is that he was the heartbeat of this team in terms of the leader, you know, in terms of the organization, been there and done it, and popped up with crucial goals, you know. And I think it's safe to say as well, yeah, in terms of his aerial dominance, yeah, I don't think there's anyone that would have believed how good in the air Casemiro was before he come to the league. Because aerially, yeah, he's unbelievable. One of the best in the league. You know what I mean? And the amount of times he gets his head to the ball is outrageous. It's outrageous. You know? And, you know, I know a few of you are saying 10 out of 10. Do you know what? I hear it. I'm not going to give him a 10 out of 10 because a 10 out of 10 for me is someone that is just faultless. You know, and again, there ain't really any faultless players in football, really, you know, over a whole season. You know, so that's how I'm kind of ranking it. But again, there's no denying, man, that he's going to be given my highest rating along with Lamens. So Lamens, I'm going to give Lamens Lamens got an 8 from me, and I'm going to give Casemiro, as it is his swan song of a season for what he's done. He's going to get a 9 from me, easily. 9 out of 10. No doubting he's a 9 out of 10 because of his influence and because of his general, you know, popping up in the big moments. You know, he has been our player of the season by far. He has. Like, I'd argue that of anyone. He's been our player of the season. You know, 9 goals, 2 assists. Again, it's not really for his goals and assists, yeah? It's his influence. You know, whenever he played, Man United were a better team, no doubt, because you saw when Ugarte come onto the pitch, how bad we were. And that's more to do with Ugarte, you know, but it's more to do with what we're losing with Casemiro not being on the pitch. So again, 9 out of 10 for me. So him and Lamens for me, 9 for Casemiro and an 8 for Lamens. And again, Lamens for me could be slightly higher, but I'm more basing it on what Lamens could be, you know, moving forwards. Moving on. Manuel Ugarte. And he's arguably going to get, guys, I'll let you know now, the lowest mark, you know, because the thing is, we weren't scammed, yeah. We were just naive and we were just dumb, because to go and buy this guy for about 50 or 60 million from PSG, the alarm bells were ringing, yeah, when PSG were happy to get rid of him. 22 appearances, yeah, which 14 of them was sub appearances, yeah. 85% pass complete, 48% long ball, 102 lost possession. Now, what's actually funny, yeah, is that he's got a better pass completion than both Bruno and Casemiro. But again, do we know what these passes were? Because these passes could have been, you know, short passes, so it's very hard to kind of look at. Yeah. But what I will tell you, yeah, is that this guy should never have been at Manchester United in the first place, because he is just a poor player. And again, the fact that Carrick, you know, refused to use him, you know, is music to my ears, because he's just not a good enough player. And he will be moved on in the summer, hopefully, as well. But I'm going to give him, and again, this isn't being out of order or critical, just being honest. I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10. You know, a 4 out of 10. And I think the 4 out of 10 is the lowest I'm going to give a player, and he's going to receive that, because I can't actually tell you, other than passion, what he actually brings to the team. You know, there was a lot of fans that were trying to say, give Ugarte time, this and that. You can clearly see from the first, you know, few appearances that this guy just isn't just doesn't have it. He just isn't good enough. You know what I'm trying to say? So the fact that you know, he's looking like he's moving on, that the club are getting rid of him, is good business. So yeah, he gets a 4 out of 10 for me. He gets a 4 out of 10. He gets a 4 out of 10. And then we're going to move on to the last midfielder, which is Kobbie Mainoo. Now, to think here, we had to suffer with Ruben Amorim. Yeah. Disgracing the club, putting Ruben Amorim on the putting Kobbie Mainoo on the bench, you know, and there was even talk about Kobbie wanting to move on. Did I ever believe that Kobbie was going to move on? No. If you guys remember at the time, yeah, I was saying that Kobbie and his entourage, what they've done is that they've put the pressure on Manchester United to make a decision on Ruben Amorim, and it come to fruition in the end, because there was no way the club were going to allow Kobbie to move on. You know, someone has come through the academy, you know, at the expense of a manager that is failing, you know, and the fact Kobbie Mainoo outlasted Ruben Amorim, it's not really a surprise, you know, and it was always going to happen, because the player of his level, yeah, should not leave the club. And again, it was never going to happen anyway, you know. And to think that Ruben Amorim had fans out there thinking that this guy is no good, it's a testament to how good he is, and it's testament to what Carrick has come in and done as well. You know, 28 appearances. I mean, how many subs did he have? He had 12 sub appearances, and again, his appearances off the bench, I believe, were all under Ruben Amorim, which is an absolute disgrace, really, when you think about it. Yeah. So 28 appearances, 1 goal, 2 assists, 89% pass completion, 56% long ball, 193 times lost possession. Now again, yeah, look at that, yeah. 193 times lost possession. And then you look at the fact that, you know, Bruno's played the majority of the season. He's in the 588s. That is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Yeah. Losing the ball is not an option. It never should be. You know, I'm from an era of football, yeah, where if someone lost the ball, it's seen as a crime. And again, I'm not saying that players didn't lose the ball, but losing the ball was never acceptable. It seems now we're in an era of football where losing the ball has become, you know, common. doesn't make sense to me, And the fact that Kobe, has somewhat turned this season around, he's in the England squad as well for the World Cup. It's great business because new contract. Because for me, not only is he the future of our midfield, but he's actually, for me as well, a future captain of the club. And again, man, it's great to see that, it's great to see, that Kobe's committed his future to the club. And and he's someone that is, man, he's massively appreciated at the club. You can tell Carrick loves him. Carrick had him in the youth as well. And as I said, man, he's a future captain for me, future England regular starter as well. And we've got him, man, and I'm going to give Kobe Manu through no fault of his own, because he wasn't playing regularly under Amorim. I'm basing it off his time with Amorim and with Carrick, because under Carrick he was faultless, really, But I think I'm gonna give Kobe a 7 out of 10. But again, Kobe for me, he's gonna be just like Dorgu and a few other players. They're gonna be ones to watch for next season, because I think he's definitely someone, man, that we need to be looking out for, man, because he's a top player, Kobe Manu, So yeah, I'm gonna give him a 7 out of 10, and I think the only players that are ahead of him in terms of the player ratings is Lamens at 8 and Casemiro at 9. So yeah. Moving on. Matthias Cunha. What a signing he's been for me. Him playing left wing, I think he's adapted to his position, because obviously Bruno's playing as the 10, and he's adapted to playing left wing. Next season, I'm a bit concerned to see what his role is moving forwards, because does he play in the 10, or is he going to be sticking out to be playing as a left winger? I don't know. This is why I'm looking forward to seeing what we do in the window. But for me, Matthias Cunha, man, 10 goals, 33 appearances, 2 assists, 137 touches in the opposition box, which means he's quite productive in that sense as well. 164 duels won, 91 dribbles. And again, he's another player that he can be even better. He's had 4 sub appearances as well in the 33. But the main thing for me with Cunha is, what is his role moving forwards? Is his role going to be left wing? Is it going to be the 10? Or do we sign another player that is an actual winger, and he's competing with them? I'm not too sure. But the thing with Matthias Cunha, man, there's no doubting that Matthias Cunha is someone, especially with number 10 on his back, he's someone that is primed for a big season next season. And I think if we are to mount a serious title challenge, he's going to be involved for me, because he's that kind of player. He's a maverick for me, and he's definitely someone that can be better, man. So yeah, I'm going to give Cunha a strong 7 as well. I'm going to give him a 7. I'm happy with him. Give him a 7. Moving on, we've got a couple of players to left to go through. Brian Mbeumo for me, I don't like, as a footballer, I don't really rate him that highly. I think Mbeumo is someone for me, that if he's not getting goals, he's not really doing too much. I think his best performance was actually the last home game against Brentford, where his general play was actually decent, and he got the goal to cap it off, even though it probably should have stood as that was the goal that Bruno got the assist from, wasn't it? But yeah, no, listen, if he doesn't get goals, then it's like, is he really contributing that much to the game? And again, I'm going to give him a 6. That's literally what I was thinking. 11 goals, 33 appearances, 3 assists, 150 touches in the opposition box, 86 duels won, 54 dribbles. Yeah. And I think Mbeumo, an average season for him, I would say. Again, he made 2 sub appearances as well. And I would say personally, yeah. I would say personally that he is someone. Is his future in question in terms of his starting position? Because I think Carrick does like him, but Carrick likes to play him through the middle. I think in the system that Carrick's been playing, which has been a bit more counter-attacking, Mbeumo is more suited to playing as a striker. Yeah, in this system. If we play possession-based, for me, you can't play him as the striker, which means that he has to go to the right-hand side. But then, do you bring someone in? Is it going to be Ahmad out there? You know, these are the questions that Carrick needs to figure out. Because I'm looking at Mbeumo right now, and if I'm looking at Man United's best team, and I'm looking at the fact that we're going to go into the market, he doesn't really start in the best team for me. You know, Brian Mbeumo, but he's definitely someone that is an asset for the squad, no doubt. You know, but let's see what happens moving forwards. But I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10, and I'm happy with that. We've got 3 more players to go through. Next one is Amad Diallo. You know, Amad Diallo, massive fan of Amad Diallo. You know, again, he's someone that does divide opinion in the fan base. You know, a lot of fans don't rate him. Someone like myself can see the qualities that he has, you know. And first and foremost, I look at Amad's technical ability. He's got it. He's very tenacious as well. What Amad has suffered from, yeah, is the fact that what he has suffered from, yeah, is that he's been playing a lot of his career, you know, out wide for United as a wing back and out wide. Now, if those of you that don't know, yeah, Amad is naturally a number 10. He's naturally a central player that obviously can play out wide as well. Now, I wouldn't even blame fans that actually think Amad is actually a wide player now, because he's played a lot of his career out wide. But I'm going to stick to what I've been saying for the longest, yeah? If Manchester United want to get more from Amad, Amad needs to be playing more central. He does. You know, if you look at the goal that Mbeumo tapped in with the knee interplay between Amad and Mount, you know, that's what Amad has in his locker. You know, this season he hasn't been great for me. He hasn't been great, nowhere near it. You know, 32 appearances, 2 goals, 3 assists, 139 touches in the opposition box, 128 duels won, and then 79 dribbles. For me, that isn't good enough for a player of his quality, you know. And this is what I'm trying to say to you, yeah. Man United are playing more counter-attack, which doesn't suit Amad. Because if you know anything about Amad Diallo, yeah, Amad doesn't have outrageous pace. You know, he needs players that he can link with. You know, he's not someone that is an isolation player either. You know, he needs players around him where he can bounce the ball to them and play around these and play around the opposition. Yeah. And what I would say, yeah, is that unless he plays centrally and we go to a possession-based team, you're going to get an in and out performance of Amad. It's a fact. And that's why I'm hoping that Carrick does go to more playing with the ball, more possession-based. Because if you're playing more with the ball, Amad gets more touches of the ball, you know, he's going to be better. But if we're playing counter-attack, Amad is not a counter-attack player. And that goes for, you know, a few other players that we have in the team. You know, and this is why I'm optimistic that we go and sign more players which are possession-based players. And hopefully Amad does play more centrally, which at the moment is seeming unlikely. But I'm just hopeful, man, that we can see Amad, you know, playing more centrally, or we go more possession-based, because I definitely think there's more to come from him. But if we're being honest, from his season, I have to give him a 5 out of 10, if I'm being honest, because what Amad is capable of, he hasn't shown it. And is that all on Amad? Not for me. I think it's definitely to do with the way United are playing. But he's another one that this season for me can be an anomaly in terms of not being a great season for him. But I'm pretty sure next season, yeah, depending on what happens with the style of play and with the transfers coming in, we're going to get a better Ahmad, you know, so he can easily go up levels, you know. But it depends what we're going to do, you know. But I'm a big fan of Ahmad. But if I'm being honest, I'll have to give him a 5 out of 10, you know, because he hasn't been that great. Moving on to Joshua Zirkzee. Now, again, just like Ahmad, guys, you guys have probably heard me talk about Zirkzee before, yeah? Joshua, and again, guys, before I finish off, Ahmad had 5 sub appearances. Brian Mbeumo's had 2. Joshua Zirkzee's made the most appearances from the bench, 19 appearances off the bench for a total of 24. So the reason I've mentioned that is because if there's fans out there that are looking at Zirkzee's goal record and saying he's only got 2 goals, yeah, you have to take into account the style of play that Man United play is not suited to Joshua Zirkzee. Half of his performances have been off the bench. And not to mention, if you're looking at Joshua Zirkzee, yeah, to score you 30 to 40 goals a season, he's not going to do that because that's not the kind of player that he is. He's a false 9, you know, that will facilitate for players around him, you know. And this is why I always say, what do fans want? Do they want Zirkzee to get 30 to 40 goals? Because it's never going to happen. Or are you just have an agenda against him because you don't understand the player that he is, you know? And 100% Zirkzee should be staying, 100%. Because players of his ability, of his technical ability, they don't come around too often. The only player you would realistically say that is Man United could realistically get to get rid of Zirkzee is probably an Eli Krupi Jr., someone that plays a similar way, you know. But other than that, like there ain't strikers out there that Man United really can go and get for a good price. You know what I'm trying to say? So this is why I'm saying, unless Zirkzee wants to leave, who are you guys gonna who are you guys looking at as Man United bringing in to replace Zirkzee? That's the question I want to know, because the striker market, as we know, is dead. If you're saying Zirkzee to go and Krupi Jr. comes in, cool, I'm with that, because Krupi Jr. is a very good player and he's young as well. But Harry Kane's not going to come. Lewandowski is 38, and there's no longevity, and you know, Premier League football, you know, he's coming at a late stage there. Mateta, I hear it, you know. So they're the only ones. Ivan Toney, I've wanted Ivan Toney to sign before we signed Sesko last season or the season before. So again, for me, Joshua Zirkzee is a definite stay for me, and I'm banking it on the fact that we could be playing a different way next season, you know. But 24 appearances, which 19 of them have been subs, 2 goals, 1 assist, 48 touches in opposition box, 40 duels won, 13 shots. Again, these stats here, they don't really tell the full picture of Joshua Zirkzee because he's hardly played, you know. And again, people that are saying Joshua Zirkzee doesn't suit your style of play, that's obvious. That's what I've been trying to say for the last 5 minutes. This is why I'm saying Carrick has said, yeah, that Man United are not playing in the way that he sees, which I can only take from that we're going to be playing more possession based next season. So if that is the basis, yeah, then hopefully we can get more from a Zirkzee if he stays. You know what I'm trying to say? Again, if people don't rate Zirkzee, that's your opinion. I hear it, but I've seen enough of Zirkzee to know that he is a very good footballer, and I'm not of the opinion that we should be getting rid of very good footballers. I'm not of the opinion. There's no way I'm going to start saying get rid of Joshua Zirkzee when we've got Mason Mount on 250 wearing number 7 and it's hardly available. You know, there's no way that I'm going to say that. So, again, but if you don't understand what kind of player Zirkzee is, you're always going to be looking for something that isn't there. That's the problem. That is the problem. So, but if I'm banking it on his season, this season, he's hardly played. Yeah, so it's kind of an unfair judgment, really. So I'm just going to give Zirkzee a 5 out of 10. But if he does stay next season and we do what is necessary, then don't be surprised if Joshua Zirkzee becomes a standout player for Man United next season. But a lot of that depends on our style of play. If he's going to be getting used properly by Carrick, you know, a lot of it depends on that. And again, if he wants to stay. But I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10 because it's kind of difficult to kind of rate him based on what he's the amount of time he's been given. And then moving on to the last player, which is Benjamin Sesko. You know, 30 appearances, 11 goals, 1 assist, 95 touches in opposition box, 85 duels won, 33 shots. And his sub appearances are 13. Now, with Benjamin Sesko, yeah, I'm actually happy with Sesko because there's fans out there that don't rate him, and there's fans out there that do rate him. What I would say about Benjamin Sesko, yeah, is that Benjamin Sesko has his strengths. You know, I look at Sesko as, for me, he's a perfect impact sub. You know, he's energetic. You know, he's very good in the air. He's got pace. You know, and he's lively. So against tired legs, this is where, for me, you know, he's useful. You know, and I don't believe he should be starting every game. I don't. I think, you know, if you look at his general play isn't that great when you actually think about it. But what I would say is that he's a threat in terms of what he has, you know, with his physicality and with his energy, most importantly, you know. But do I think he should be starting every game for Man United? I don't think that. And but I would say in terms of what he's provided, I'm happy with Sesko, you know. And this is what I'm trying to say, man. Having different profiles of strikers is important. Him and Zirkzee offer totally different strengths, which is why it works. You know, Zirkzee's the ball player. You know, he's the one that can hold the ball up as well. He's a technician, whereas Sesko offers the threat in behind, the aerial ability, you know, and he's more mobile as well. So he offers that. So having those two in a functioning system, you know, where we're playing more possession based, I think you get even better out of both of them, you know. But I think Sesko in his debut season? Guys, how long has Sesko been at Man United? Has he been there 1 or 2 years? I think he's been there. I think it's his debut season, isn't it? Let me know if it's his debut season. And guys, I will go back through your questions and comments after this one. So what? How is it? Is it Sesko's first season? Let me know in the chat, guys. Is it Sesko's first season? I can't remember. Yeah, first season. Okay, big up Fitz. Yeah. So Sesko's first season. And to be fair, a return of 11 goals in 30 appearances is decent. You know, it is decent. So, yeah, I think Sesko can be happy with his debut season. And I think the fan base need to be happy as well, because he definitely has got something. But as I said, I don't believe Manchester United moving forwards should be banking on Sesko as being the starting striker. Not for me, because his general play, you know, isn't what a level of Man United striker should have, in my opinion. But he definitely has his strengths, you know what I'm trying to say. But I think for his season, for what he's done, I think a 6 out of 10 is more than enough for me. More than enough. 6 out of 10. So, yeah. And guys, that's the player ratings. I'm going to just run through all them from start to finish. So, Lemens, 8 out of 10. By in there, I gave him a 5. Oh, no, sorry. I gave him a 4 by in there. Dallo, 6. Mazraoui, a 6. Lenny Yoro, a 5. Harry Maguire, a 7. Matthias de Ligt, obviously injured, a 6. Lissandro, a 6. Luke Shaw, a 6. Patrick Dorgu, a 7. Aiden Heaven, a 7. Mason Mount, a 5. Bruno Fernandes a 7. Casemiro a 9. Ugarte a 4. Kobe an 8. No, was Kobe a 7? Sorry, Kobe a 7. Matthias Cunha a 7. Brian Mbeumo a 6. Ahmad a 5. Xerxes 5. And then Benjamin Sesko a 6. Guys, let me know in the comments. I'm going to go through some of your comments now before we wrap it up. Let me know what you think of the ratings, or if there are any other players that you think should be higher. A goal every 3 shots. That is decent numbers. Who's that? Is that for Sesko? Yeah. So could say it's been okay from a goals perspective, but nothing to write home. Yeah, that's what I agree with Sesko. I think his goal return is decent, to be fair, but again, his general play hasn't been great. But again, he can improve, innit? And this is why I keep saying, man, I just want to see United go back to a possession-based team, man. That is just what I want to see, man. If they go back to a possession-based team, then happy days, man. Happy days for United. That's what I'm saying. But let's wait and see, man, because for sure, man, we're gonna be in for a good summer, man. And I'm looking forward to it for sure. No doubt. I'm looking forward to it. So, guys, that's my player ratings. As I said, make sure you let me know in the comments if you disagree or if you agree with some of the player ratings. Yeah, let me know in the chat. And guys, I'm gonna be back tomorrow. So we're gonna start this series of the World Cup major teams. So tomorrow's gonna be France. So again, I'm gonna go through the France squad that was chosen, and then we're gonna discuss the likely formation and the lineup for the first game. So yeah, make sure you join me tomorrow. I think that one's gonna be. I think those ones, guys, are gonna be an 8 o'clock starts. Them ones in the evening. So again, if you're around in the evening at 8 o'clock, make sure you guys jump on. So it's gonna be a good one. And as I said, I got France, Germany. So not in order. Let me see the order of it actually, just so you guys know. Spare me 1 minute. So it's gonna be. So yeah, it's gonna be France tomorrow, then Belgium, then Brazil, then Portugal. So the Portugal one, guys, is going to be an early one because I'm going to do a watch along for the PSG and Arsenal game at 5 o'clock. So that one's going to be an early one around 12:30, I believe it might be. And then you got Germany on the Sunday, then England on Monday, Spain on Tuesday, and then I think Holland might be the last one. So it's only going to be the major teams that I'm going to discuss. So a lot of them will be 8 p.m. ones in the evening, except for the Portugal one, because that's on Saturday. And the Champions League final watch along I'm going to do, that will be an early one. So so yeah, make sure you guys come through, man, and that's going to be a good one. And guys, as always, make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel as well. And guys, if you can hype the channel as well, which I think you can do via if you go onto the description. So if you can hype the channel And again, let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with the player ratings for Manchester United this season. And as I said, guys, looking forward to next season, man, because this window, I just got a feeling, man, we're gonna do something good in this window. And then, you know, if we do well in this window, we sign the right players. Listen, I think a title charge is well and truly there, man, no doubt. But yeah, let's wait and see what happens. But other than that, guys, big up to yourselves each and every time. Big up to all the mods. Big up to the newcomers as well coming through. And as I said, yeah, make sure you smash the like button on your way out. Make sure you sub to the channel as well. And yeah, guys, I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the France World Cup squad and selection. Ederson and Baleba. Yeah, listen, I've had it off good authority, guys, that Baleba is definitely a Manchester United player. He's definitely signing. I've literally been told this by someone credible. I can't reveal who that is, but yeah, I've been told that Baleba's definitely happening. So I'm just saying. So if there's fans out there that don't want Baleba, then yeah, Baleba's definitely happening. I've been told that. Again, those of you in the chat, you can hate all you want. It is what it is, isn't it? You can hate all you want, man. Like it's just that, innit? You know. So that's all I'm saying. But guys, other than that, big up to yourselves each and every time, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.